So when will I take profit in this market cycle? Let's find out. Hi everyone, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell button, leave a like, and obviously a comment. I hope you're good. Now, we're going to talk today about market cycles and my overall opinion on where we are right now. Also, how to handle it, how to manage it, how to take profit in certain ways. So it's probably a good video. So yes, I have used a cheeky thumbnail to get you in, but I do think it's important. Usually when I do educational videos, they don't do very well. So yeah, maybe might have more audience today. So make sure you are sticking around. So we need to talk about market cycles. I want to go over this chart that I created the other day. I'm going to explain it in more detail and why I came to this conclusion so you understand it more than just the context of the tweet. Now, again, not financial advice. This is opinion based as well. Things can change in a market. Something could terribly happen tomorrow and it may well change. But if we're looking at natural progression, I think we've got a bit further to go than what some people are stating. That's my overall opinion on it, and we'll explain it. So let me just go through what market cycles are. Now, this is a good website. This is Crypto Potato, and it's a relatively old article now, but it goes through the market cycle. So you can see here on this image alone how the growth cycles tend to vary depending on what it is. But the one thing that is always kind of absolute throughout any cycle is usually, give or take, crypto is a little bit different though. The bull cycle is usually more than what the bear cycle tends to be. But it seems to be more aggressive. As you can see here, they're a bit different in the stock market. So don't take this as kind of gospel. But when we start talking about what my chart states, I do feel that people have kind of got the wrong end of the stick. And I'm going to explain why regarding bear cycles essentially. So we've got this psychological chart, and there's actually 10 cycle levels of a market cycle, which I do want to go over. But you've basically got, it basically looks like that, right? And you've got to kind of look and zoom out and see where you think we are. Now, when I look at the altcoin market, I don't think we're pushing high enough yet, in my opinion. We've only just gone over the previous high of the last cycle. So that's one indication that I don't think we're done yet. And when we start talking about FOMO and all the new things coming out in the market, people are interested. That's going to push the price up even higher, and more interest, more people are going to come on board. And obviously we've got terms of use. Terms of use and the ability to use cryptocurrency is getting easier, faster, stronger every single day. The enabling of networks, especially with Ethereum 2.0, Polkadot coming out into more full force, it's going to become a lot easier to get involved. So that's important. But when we look at market cycles, we've got all these kind of systems. So we've got stage one is obviously hope. You've obviously got optimism, belief, and then thrill. When you start getting to that point, you're like, oh, my bags have gone up in price. That's awesome. Then you got euphoric feelings. You got complacency, anxiety, denial, panic, and depression, right? You can probably work out where the top is. Obviously, the complacency just after euphoric nature, which is why I always say, probably another murder, sorry. This is why I always say, whenever you've made money in the market, make sure you've taken some profit. I've been doing it on pretty much most of my bags to secure myself. I'm full-time in crypto. I don't have the time to just sit on a bag and hope for the best. I've got to kind of secure it, make sure it works, all kinds of good stuff. Everyone's different though, right? Do not be a bag holder, because if you buy at the top, you're going to die. So when we talk about this in brief elements, right? This chart, just to give you a pointer, is the crypto total market cap, not including Bitcoin. I want to explain that in a minute why. I feel if you put Bitcoin in this, it changes the dynamic. For me, the easiest way to see a bull or a bear market is just through the altcoins alone. Why? Market sentiment, FOMO, tendencies. Everyone knows Bitcoin. Bitcoin's easiest to obtain, get, store, etc. Bull markets can happen with or without Bitcoin, right? That's a problem. We had a mini bull cycle in 2019, the end of 2018, which is why I think people have been tweeting that this is the starting point. I'm going to explain why that happened. In that period of time, I remember one thing very, very clearly. Bitcoin dominance shot to the moon. Bitcoin went from 3k to 13k, and it came back down very, very aggressively. Altcoins didn't follow it. There was a reason for this. There was two very, very big Ponzi schemes going out at the time. Cloud Token, which was one of them. As you can see here, this was made up with 500 million. I think there was a lot more in terms of value on this, but there was another one as well called Plus Token. I think this was 2.25 billion. These were going out at the time. These were happening. There was a lot of people interested in these. So when you look at the BTC chart included in that total 2 chart, so the whole market cap, it's a bit off. This is what happened in that year. This started to happen overall. Kind of got a little bit interesting. So when those Ponzi schemes were kind of all over the place, people trying to move money around and sticking in them and all kinds of good stuff, yeah, things kind of went a bit wobbly, and Bitcoin pumped and the altcoin market dumped. So bull market? No, definitely not. So that's what the period was here. So this period here, just to clarify, this was when the scams were happening, and this is when they were trying to get arrested. And they were moving the money around, they were hoarding it, they were swapping it around, they were doing all kinds of weird wash trading with it, and it was just pumping. So yeah, this is when Bitcoin was going up to like stupid levels. It went from 3k up to 13k pretty quickly, but nothing else moved with it. The essentially the altcoin market wasn't pushing at all. If we're looking at the total 2 chart here, that same period in time, it was going down. What? Really? Strange, I know. So yeah, that is why I feel the bear market or the bull market essentially started here. Now, you could probably argue COVID crash. Okay, let's go through this chart now. The COVID crash, cool, right? Maybe. Black Swan event. Black Swan events tend to move market and change dynamics. Property crash, 2008. Remember that one? Yeah, ended of the cycle, right? In my opinion, you can look at this or you can look at this. Structure break around this point. So when we've got looking at structure, we've got this high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. You get the picture, right? Structure break. Oh, bull cycle, right? You've also got the EMA 21. You've also got other things as well to go with it. Same with this, same dynamic, right? You look at this previous period. Now, if we're going to do a bear cycle on this, maybe, we'll have a little look at this. Obviously, I need to change it. But we could be looking at essentially this as a potential area. So again, you see that previous area there, essentially. You're looking at, well, it depends how you look at it, really. But realistically, you've got to think of the facts here. That has been pulling down. Obviously, you can see that if I just zoom in a bit so you can see it. It's still a trend, still a downtrend, and then obviously the structure break around here when it breaks over that high, and then off we go, right? Bull and market trend. So you could probably argue maybe 500 days in the previous period, 800 days. It depends how you look at it. It depends obviously how you look at it. For me, maybe you could probably argue from this top here, and you can maybe make that one a little bit more like this and go from that point of view. It depends how you look at it. But ultimately, what tends to happen is the bull cycles tend to be more than the bear cycles. But you've obviously got, it depends how you look at this. You can look at the COVID crash or you can look at the structure break. For me, structure break's more obvious. So I think that's where we started. Where do we run? Well, we don't know. This guesstimate is interesting. In my opinion, I can't see it being lower. So the one thing that I confused people on yesterday was, like, people are watching videos on certain people thinking the end of September it's going to end. 448 days potentially? No. When we start looking at the fact of what this structure is giving us, yeah, we can look at that Black Swan event, but at the end of the day, I still feel that structure break is more clear and obvious start of a bull market. And when you look at where the altcoins pushed off in June, July time 2020. So for me, I'm looking at that. But if we're going to look at estimates, let's just say 800 days, for example, and it is eclipsing this bear cycle, and it's in and around roughly where the previous one was, that is September 2022. We can, however, go a little bit further back, but the reason why I'm saying that, I don't think, like, some people feel that it's going to end tomorrow, and it's too small for a cycle. The demand is there, the trends are up, everything is happening, it's good, so that's fine. But we've also got to look at this as well. This is an article by Coin Monks. This is relative, I don't know how old it is. I think it's the start of this year. And you see here, if we go till the November 2021 for an 18-month cycle, that will give us a total market cap of 1.5 trillion. We're not that far away from that. So maybe we may eclipse that, but altcoins are definitely pushing. But if it carries on going to like 2 trillion, we may well see $100,000 of a Bitcoin coming up soon. But I said at the start of this video, looking at when you include the market cycle of what Bitcoin was, this is why I think it just doesn't make sense having Bitcoin in there for me, because of the way it kind of moves. But if people do feel that this was a start of the market cycle, I still think no, definitely not. Not in 2018, not even in 2019, because it was too weird. But the way I look at this, I see essentially a structure break from this point anyways, of these lower highs breaking, and I still think May time 2020, June time 2020, if that makes sense, as the start, the pinnacle start, because it's still very wishy-washy. When you compare the fact that there was 2 huge scams operating, very, very Bitcoin-led as well, and you can look them up, Cloud Token, Plus Token, in terms of how they operated, I think it's important to kind of rule those out as somewhat interesting. But for me, natural growth, you can't look any more than this chart here. Looking at this structure break, it looks clear. This doesn't look clear at all. It rejected, it failed, obviously, whatever, right? But again, overall opinions are my own. If you believe me or not, I don't know. But one thing I will say is this. If you are looking at this chart, the total chart or the total 2 chart, by the way, either or, and you're looking on the higher time frames, the weekly or the 3-day chart, and they are below the EMA 21, you may be thinking, now's the time not to invest. Maybe the time is now to wait for things to settle down, take the profit, chill out. But you should always be taking on the profit on the way up. But if you're watching this video at some point in the future and you see it below this point and it's looking like a bear, you may want to just wait out.